Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. I will indulge in a cough candy. So, last evening, perceptions. Well, I hope you've had a great time. You want your money back. He's the guy. He does refunds. I enjoy coming back here. It's I enjoy um, teaching a similar group of people every year because the way I teach, I really like to get to know people. I'm not very good at abstract, so that takes energy and time, which good thing. Uh, so coming to a place where I've gotten to know all of you quite well, most of you, makes it much easier for me. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then also I get to hear your feedback. Through your questions, it's feedback from me. And then I think, oh, that didn't work, or, oh, that works well, or that both were, that kind of thing. And I think that's very important for someone who is sharing their hobby um, to see what's effective, what isn't. Because I don't feel like I'm teaching Buddhism. That's not really what I'm doing. I'm just talking about how I try to implement this teaching in a way which is very personal, but effective for me. And then like I said earlier, I don't know if this works for you. I can't read your mind. But when you tell me, yeah, that worked, I say, okay, I'll keep that one. But when someone says, what? And I think about it twice. So it's very rewarding. Um, and it's a great honor sharing Dhamma. It really is, because the trust that you give to me when you share your most, you know, intimate difficulties and ask me, hey, how might I deal with that? And that's huge honor. That's a huge honor. So appreciate that. Um, and as you see, I'm always sort of challenging dogma. But I'm not saying to disbelieve it, but I guess I'm asking, let's look at reality rather than conceptual positions. Like, what is reality really about? So say the idea of sharing merit. Again, I don't know if it works, but I love doing it. So that's reality. And yeah, it's a cool thing to do. It feels good. So for whatever, I was thinking about a way of maybe defining punya and merit and ping in similar. And maybe it's like we've spent these 9, 10 days together and we've been enriched. There's a kind of enrichment of our psyche and our being. So there's a kind of wealth. There's a wealth of goodness, and there's a wealth of um, competence and all kinds of things. And so maybe merit is like I love to share that wealth. Um, I like to take that enrichment and see how I can enrich your life. So it's very obvious on a one-to-one level. Bigger than that, je ne sais pas. I don't know. But why not? So there are things that I might not know on a cosmic level, but I know they feel good for me. So that's reality. Yeah, it feels good to think, may this may this retreat be a benefit to all beings in all quarters. Hmm. So we really have. I mean, I think we all feel that we've been enriched by this situation. So obviously, we feel great gratitude, and I think tomorrow we'll enunciate that gratitude more specifically by naming people, but just how beautiful gratitude is. It's just one of the most beautiful things in creation. And we don't want to leave gratitude. It's just those moments where we get what we want. It's pretty easy. You get what you want. Thank you. Oh, that's profound. You get what you don't want. Thank you. Are you kidding me? And then gratitude doesn't come up. So gratitude as an inner celebration of what's good in my life rather than the gratitude, which is just based on getting what I want. That's pretty shallow. And I think I mentioned those two things earlier on when we started the idea of contentment with little. It's a huge part of monastic training. And if you can get those two going, contentment with little and gratitude, and keep amplifying them in consciousness, I mean, that's better than meditation. It's just like uplifts the heart and makes you a really, really good person. So I feel grateful, you feel grateful, and I direct that to certain people, but then I can know, yeah, gratitude. That's liberation, isn't it? It's liberation from craving and ego and all those things. So let's do that a lot. Contentment with little. I mean, I've had so much, I can't really say content with little because I got so much given. You should have seen my breakfasts. Whoa. I mean, I gained a lot of weight, but I endured. I did my duty. People ask, like, how do I know my practice is progressing? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? You're a better person. You're happier. You don't react as much. You see beauty more. You're more forgiving, less egotistical, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it goes on. So I mean, it's pretty obvious. But sometimes, like when we do meditation, then we get kind of into really, really refined states, and that's all very well and good. But I always ask that, and the person's getting some sense of I'm not getting anywhere in my practice. I say, well, what were you like 3 years ago? Oh, I'm much better than that now. Yeah, well, that's what it's about. It's about 3 years ago. And you can ask, like, okay, well, you look back 5 years ago, 3 years ago, if you still have a memory. I don't have much of a memory left, but if you have any memory left, well, what was I like 3 years ago? Ask someone, or 5 years ago, and say, yeah, I feel good. I feel good in some ways. So keep doing that. Whatever it is you're doing, keep doing that. And then if there's some lousy bits of your psyche or your life, what do I, what am I doing that lousy bit keeps intruding and taking over? And then don't do that. Simple. But of course, life isn't that simple. But that kind of just that general, like me, say, giving talks and being with people, working through a tremendous amount of social anxiety. I feel great. I feel great. And so that's just the happiness of taking on my own karma, my own problematic mind, my own conditioning, and just being honest with it and just working away at it, working away at it. And the result is very natural. It's not something highly refined and defined by all these levels and attainments. It's much more human than that. So I used to try to get enlightened. I don't know when I gave that one out. Probably when I stopped being so anxious and fearful. So enlightenment to me is much more the awakened mind. It's a more a momentary thing, something that is realized all the time, all the time, all the time, rather than a goal that I'm trying to attain. So much of our life is actually remembering. So if I would use the word mindfulness, I resisted using that. I don't know why. It is a remembering, isn't it? Like you remember to know that you know. You remember to feel your body. You remember uh, to say thank you. It's a kind of recollecting or remembering of that goodness in your life. And then that accumulates and gets better and better. How to live your life going away from here? Well, each of us have our own. We're all going to enter more complex situations except me. It'll get more simple because I'll be in Dhamma on my doing yoga nidra for a few days. But for you, life will become very complex, much more complex, more interactions, more everything. And if you have an idea that meditation is a constant building up of refinement, refined states of mind that you have to work and build up, then you have culture shock when you go back to the world. But notice that that's not something I'm encouraging at all. I'm not encouraging the creation. I'm not encouraging creation. So what we experience isn't a creation. Awareness isn't a creation. The way things are created. Our emotions and our bodies and the beautiful meals we had and all of that, they're creations. But when you abide as the uncreated, as awareness, then you can't really lose. But your experience can become more coarse. Yeah. And your buttons might get pressed. Sure. And you might feel like really frazzled. Everyone knows what frazzled means? You get the idea, I think. Your brain gets fried, basically, by events. And that can be known in awareness. So the idea of sharing merit and sharing goodness is we give everything up. Everything, all your insights and all the experiences and whatever way I can function in the world which is wholesome, please let me do that. But if you attach to this is a very refined situation. This is not, obviously, this isn't ordinary life and everything. And we're all kind and generous and sensitive, and the food is fantastic. And there are 175, no, 112 potted plants from where I enter that. Where am I? Where I enter my lane to my kuti. 112 potted plants. Amazing. And they're all beautiful. So we're in Devaloka, right? Well, every now and then our mind drops into hell. but but basically, then it's perfect. Couldn't be any better. So that what does that produce in your mind? If it produces attachment, then of course, wow, all this traffic or all this pollution or all this trouble, you react in a kind of dualistic way. But if you just allow yourself to feel confused, so you're in a social situation where everyone's coming at you and you've just been alone for 10 days, and you're going to feel confused. Your brain is just going, oh, but don't panic. It will change. So if it gets really bad, go to the toilet. Just regroup. Go to your kuti. And then, okay, confusion feels this way. So that's what we're doing. We're finding refuge in a simple situation like this, in a beautiful situation, but that refuge is not a situation, is it? Awareness is not a situation. It knows situations. And so hopefully this kind of a retreat helps you in that way. If it doesn't, well, you can send me a note and you can do like the YouTube down. Yes. Please subscribe. Get there. We're all into that, right? We see the YouTube thing so often. Condition that way. So we have, as human beings, we have a tremendous amount of beauty. Like the way we relate with each other now is very beautiful. It's moral. It's sensitive. We respect elders. Yom Tip is always helped by Joey when she's getting up. And that's beautiful. That's really, really graceful. And the culture of Thailand and the culture of Buddhism is, I think, very much it celebrates beauty, but not in an egotistical way, like I've got a beautiful nose or something like that. More in the way of the heart, where there's sensitivity and there's grace and all of that. And then maybe we come into a world where actually it's in your face, coarse, rough, and well, this isn't graceful. Yeah, but you can still be mindful of it. So even grace and beauty and that, although we cultivate it and we love it and we encourage it, it's not a refuge. It's not a refuge. So when coarseness comes, um, and that comes, if your refuge is in knowing, then you can bear it, you can take it, and it kind of goes through you. But you watch the vibration, you stay with the awareness. And if you can't take it, then you go to the toilet. Get out of there if you can. But if you have to be in that situation, that's your practice. It has to be, right? Rather than, oh, I could meditate when I was in Neranara. No, it's 24/7. And so you learn refined things here, delicate things. You learn about more coarse things and so on. There's an experience of the open heart I like to share. I think I've done it too many times, but we have to fill in the time. And so I went to long ago when I was living in Amaravati, there was a opening of a Tibetan, not a center, but a place of practice on the second story of a building. And Amaravati monks were invited. I think it was a Dzogchen group, but we were very friendly with them, and I was nominated to go. I went with another monk and an Nagarika, I guess. So we went up there, and it was very, very sweet. And my heart was really, really open. Ah, lovely ecumenical Buddhism. We're all one. Oh, and the monks were lovely, and I was lovely. We were all lovely, as things are. And this guy comes up to me, and he starts verbally attacking me for the war in Sri Lanka. You Buddhists are killing the Tamils. Eh? I what? I mean, who are you, Jack? And he's just kind of coming at me. Right? And then I was totally blindsided. Oh, I'm so open. So much. I love you all. Maybe when I'm happy. And I was so confused. It was really interesting. It was like, being punched in the head a few times. And I kind of, oh, what the heck was that about? It took me about a day to figure out what the guy was on about. So then, well, part of that, why I bring that up is that sometimes that kind of openness is you're kind of very, very vulnerable. And yet, when I think about Ajahn Chah, he was always open, but you couldn't shake him. So there was something about my own openness, which was still probably what was it? Probably expecting something from my openness, expecting everyone else to think I'm the sweetest thing in London. But obviously that wasn't true. So I didn't close down, but I could see I could have closed down, or I'm not going to open my heart up anymore. But you imagine, like, if you open up and then you get hurt and then you close down and close down and close down, then you become dead in some kind of a way, which you said. So you want to open the heart, but also kind of be realistic. So I think going into a world which is complex, you do have to create boundaries. You do have to be, careful. But anyway, the kind of the final part of that story is so I leave this building and I'm still kind of confused. Kind of grumbling, what was that? What did I do? I didn't do anything, right? It wasn't fair. And I'm walking along this London street. Now it's dark, and this woman is walking a largish dog, probably a yeah, probably a lab, I suppose. And all of a sudden, the lab jumps up into my face and licks my face. Well, what what's going on today? And the owner says, "It's never done that before." So it's like the dog was kissing me well. And then I was just more confused. I just kind of walked away. London's weird. So the open heart is very important for me. Um, but I think awareness is where if something like that happens, that you can take it. You can get hurt. One doesn't want it, and one wouldn't do it. But if you get hurt, the openness of awareness can process that, and that's really 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 important because we do get hurt. People are insensitive and they're lost in their own egos and all the rest of it. So Kalyanamitta is like choosing your friends well and learning to open your heart. But when the heart gets sort of hurt like that, if it's continual, then it's very dangerous, isn't it? You just get damaged all the time. So I've been on this retreat. I've been kind of mentioning those two aspects constantly, right? Open heart and open mind, and how that comes together for you, I don't know. But the deliberate practices of Brahma Viharas I would really recommend that in whatever way you can do that. So again, the way I do it is through pictures, and I'm constantly stimulating my heart with pictures of beings I love and respect. I'm just doing that all the time because my room is just like, it's a gallery. It's a gallery of love. It really is, of respect and that. And so I realize I'm always stimulating that, always just like I look at Luangpor Cha, look at my mom, look at Luangpor Sumedho and pictures of monks. And then I'm doing that with the community I have there too. Oh, how are you doing? Thank you. Thank you. Because I live in that kind of community. I don't live with a guy that attacked me in London. That'd be different. So there's a constant stimulation of that all the time. And so then the necessity to meditate isn't that great because the heart has a lot of happiness because of the environment and because of the way I'm engaging with things. I still love to meditate. I do a lot of meditation, but if I've had really fractious, I don't get much of that because most of the HR work now at Tisarana is done by Venerable Amarasiri. He's a bodhisattva of HR work. So if we're having a problem with a guest or something and I'm hearing about it, I said, do you mind doing that? And he does it. So he carries the burden. So, but of all the things in monastic life and probably your life too, which is most exhausting is human friction. It is exhausting. It really is. And we have to work with it. But that's when I found that sitting meditation was most crucial because I would build up whatever tension and stresses from situations, and if I didn't just go clean the mind out, I guess that's what you're doing, and like liberating the tensions and stresses, then become reactive, and you don't want a reactive Abbot. Everyone then is afraid. Oh, the boss is angry. Better not touch it. So this is where meditation as maintenance work, we say, or cleansing is very, I think for me, very, very important, super important. And if you don't do that, partially, I think the heart starts to kind of harden, but also you get it like an accumulation of stuff. And then sometimes then you have to go to distractions because you don't want to look at the heart, you don't look at the mind, and then you do another retreat or whatever. But if you can every day begin, and there's the same encouragement, morning meditation, you keep to that sense of cleansing. So if meditation has a lot of friction and memory in it, that's fine. That's just the way the psyche is releasing all that, and that's, I think, very, very important. So it's not like you're meditating to get an experience or refine your practice. It's more like you're just tuning up to and liberating things. Um, One of the things I think which is very profitable is the idea of repetition, but not repetition in terms of formal practice, repetition in terms of troublesome engagement. In other words, there's someone who affects you in a troublesome way, day in and day out, or 2 times a week or wherever. So it's a person, it's a partner, it's a kid, it's whoever, and something in you gets disturbed. You get angry, you feel manipulated, but it's repetitive. And I've learned a lot, and it only makes sense, is those situations which are repetitively causing me dukkha, I learn the most from, because I can begin to prepare my mind. Okay, when I meet when I engage with this character, I'm going to come away confused, or I'm going to come away irritated, or whatever it might be. And then I can program my mind to say, now, just try to be aware of the arising of the friction, or the contraction, or the stress. Try to be aware of the rising. That's what I would say to myself. So then I get into the situation and or whatever, and then but because it's repetitive, I've got a chance to really develop mindfulness around it, and then it happens, assuming it's not abusive. If it's abusive, then you just have to change the program. But if it's just normal friction, then when it happens, like, so there it is. There's the arising. And if I can see the arising, I can see the attachment, and I can begin to understand it. Whereas situations which are one-off stressful, I don't think you learn much from. You just survive them, or you don't. But that kind of repetitive friction, or difficult communication, or whatever, is for me, it's always been very edifying. I've learned a lot. I hope I never have those situations, right? Because they're irritating and boring. So I had one situation at Oakenholt with one person. Not Oakenholt, no, that was anyway in Oxford when we were doing retreats there. And this one person was very, very arrogant, racist, and had power in the running of that situation. And I didn't have any power in that sense. And they would just come at me with this racist language. I felt it's so offensive, so offensive. And so then I'd react through that. Can't talk like that. And that didn't work because I was angry. And then I just, like, okay, I'll just listen because I had to. It was a social situation. I had no choice. And then I just, I don't want to strangle the guy. That didn't work. So then, but because it was happening a fair bit, then I said, okay, well, what's going on here? Why can't I just be cool with this guy? And then I prepare my mind. So then, as I went into the situation, he'd go into his racist tirade. He was from um, uh, I think he was somewhere in Asia. So his racism was against white guys. It was like, but it was still racist. It was very, very ugly and very offensive in so many ways. And then I just started to use that as practice. Yeah, something in his language triggers this in you. Now you watch the triggering, and then I could see it. I just found it so appallingly offensive that I just wanted to take a few teeth out. And it was really horrible. And so then I just watched. I watched the reaction. I watched the reaction. Okay. Oh. And then I learned how this is over a summer. And then I didn't say anything wrong. I just waited. And then one day I just waited and I didn't go to the reaction. And he felt there's no audience here. Oh, I mean, that's my interpretation. I never asked him, but he stopped. And because it was a Dhamma center, and then I gave it to him with Dhamma. And I told him straight out, but it was coming from a really good place, a really good place. It was coming from a place of confidence, clarity, and right view and right understanding. And I doubt if he really took it on board. I don't think he changed, but he didn't go for me anymore, at least. So there was that result. But it was what I'm saying is that the very friction, because they had enough space to work with it. Like if I had to deal with 20 people like that, I'd be a basket case. But so it's actually a kind of excellent way to learn about my mind, about mindfulness, about this person, my own uh, inability to say something appropriate, and so many things. So repetition in social interaction, I found quite often very, very valuable. Sometimes it's just horrible. You're just oppressed by someone at work, and I mean, it can be very, very horrible too. But repetition is also dangerous. So in relationship, repetition can become not listening anymore, where one just gives the pat answer and no longer listens to the partner or the child or whatever. Yeah, 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 I'm listening, but not listening. And that's unfortunate because it's the most important person in your life. And then there's a kind of habit of communication rather than real communication. So repetition has its downsides too. But I guess what I'm saying is that whatever challenges you are faced with now, um, think about where you want to be in 5 years' time, and think about, are these challenges now overwhelmingly situational? Like, is the situation so overwhelmingly exhausting that you're not getting any traction anymore? It's just like constantly overwhelming you. Then you'll have a burnout. That's what will happen, right? So you want to kind of think about less, not more. But most of us aren't in that situation. Um, so if you have a choice, I always say retire. But that's probably not a good idea because full retirement can mean you have nothing to do. And that's not easy. So you want to serve, right? I think you want to serve and give and use your talents and use your skills. I think that's fantastic. So like in terms of like some of the monks now are retiring as abbots. This is a new thing in our Sangha. And I think I'm gonna die in a harness. Do you know that idea? A horse has a harness and pulls a wagon. So those who don't retire die in harness. How'd Anyway, I'll explain it tomorrow if you want. But The idea of retirement is not attractive to me because I like to work. And my knees are bad, but they're going to get better. And I like to share and I like to talk. I hate HR, but I got my man. So I'm not planning to retire, but I think the monks that have retired, they're the ones that had huge administrative responsibilities. And then you become like a kind of a manager rather than a bhikkhu or a teacher. But a life, as we grow older, we have a lot of skills. We have emotional maturity. We have learned experiences, and any ways we can share that, I think is beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. My monastery is in Canada, as you know, and so I'd just like to invite you all to come and visit tomorrow. Or it's a very beautiful monastery. But if you are in, I mean, no one comes there because it's so out of the way. But should you be in the territory of Toronto or Ottawa, Montreal, please do come for a visit. But the angel group and the people here have been just so supportive in Singapore and Malaysia, so much so that we built this most beautiful meditation hall. It really is architecturally, it should have won many awards, but we're not going to enter it because we don't want a lot of visitors. It's just gorgeous. So, all the generosity that we receive as a monastery from Southeast Asia and these groups, we couldn't have done that without you. We couldn't have built because it's so far out of the scope of the local Buddhists because they're just they're working people and they make contributions for daily running, but these these projects are massive. But that's the way Christianity grew in say my part of the world where I am. It was primeval or pristine forest until 1800. So until 1800, the forests had not been cut down. The forests were cut down here 6,000 years ago or whenever, right? If you think about it, it's people have been here since the Iron Age, right? So you've had civilization here for for so long, for layers and layers and layers of culture and civilization. Where I am, the indigenous people would have used that as hunt land, but there was no real dense population along the rivers. And so we're very young, very new country. And there isn't much cultural depth that way. But when I come here or Malaysia or Indian, what are you in Singapore? In Singapore, I just feel the weight of a cultural depth, and I love that. I love coming to a country where there is all these layers of culture. But so just to know that this meditation hall now is like it's a pretty significant building where we are because people don't build stuff like that. And we have a lot of respect. We have a lot of respect. People in the beginning, very cautious, conservative part of the world, and I think, oh, these guys are dressed funny. Well, they pay their bills, okay. So slowly, we've generated a lot of income for all the plumbers and woodworkers and all those contractors, all the funds that came from here and other places went into the local community and created a beautiful building. And they're practical people. And what the electrician said, the contractor, he said, you guys are like work used to be in the old days. You make a contract, you shake your hand, and you keep to it. He really liked us. He really liked us because we weren't trying to mess him up, and he wasn't trying to mess us up. And that kind of old-fashioned honesty I think like because we're quite a crafty group. We like to work. We like to work with our hands. So seeing like a plumber do something really, really well, we'd all go to the plumber and say, "Ooh, yeah, that's a good joint. It's a really nice joint." Or the woodworkers, and they loved that. They loved the fact that we loved their workmanship because they're proud. They're proud of their workmanship. They work hard. They work hard. So we've through this project, we've developed an interesting rapport with the local communities just by word of mouth, not by it. Now, they're not going to all come for a retreat or offer dana or whatever, but one of our monks now, he goes on Pindapad, and Pindapad's a pretty daring activity, or not daring, it's like if you went like a half hour walk from the monastery, you'd hit maybe 20 houses and no one would know what you're doing. You would starve. So the only thing to do is to go to a town and then stand in front of a bakery. That's Pindapad in the West, or a grocery store. Thing is that the nearest town is 20 kilometers. I think it's 20, yeah? What, 20? I think so, yeah. So you either get a lift, and that's so Venerable Padipa, or Mexican monk now, once a week, he walks 3 hours. He leaves at 6 usually. He walks 3 hours to town, and then he hangs out in town hoping someone will put food in his bowl. And if he doesn't get any, he doesn't eat. And then he walks 3 hours back. But sometimes some of these contractors see him, pick him up. Oh, hey, what you doing? And then sometimes some of these people we now know are getting the picture. But fortunately, there's a Thai lady in town. So he always gets food. But also, he sits down on a bench and he's starting to eat his lunch. And there's a guy that has, marijuana is legal in Canada. So there's a guy now that knows him. He has a big hookah with grass, and he sits beside him. He's having his lunch. This guy's. So that's the adventures there. But uh, anyway, to establish a monastery where I am is really difficult because isn't the culture they don't have the culture of mendicancy of monastics. They just don't have a perception of that. Why would you walk around wearing that with an iron bowl when you get food in the monastery? What's wrong with you, man? And then, you they don't say that, I'm being facetious, but people will come up and say, and who are you? Or they'll come up and actually they'll get a sense that there's something going on here. They offer money. And the monk will say, sorry, we can't accept money. And then they'll get the idea. And then every now and then, like the other day, I think there was a mom and her daughter, and she got it. And the daughter wanted to give money. And Padipa said, I'm sorry. So mom sent the daughter off to the store, and she just stuffed his bowl full of food. And you could see how happy they were, how really, really happy they were. And Padipa was pretty happy too. He was doing all right. So this is like, for a monk in Thailand, Pindapad is just this lovely thing you do. But for us, it's in a kind of extraordinary event. And the toughest thing, I think, in Western culture is to get the idea that um, that there is a thing called Sangha. Like I think many Westerners, they kind of relate to a teacher, but quite often they don't understand the necessity of a Sangha to grow a community, to have young monks and then teachers and so on. And that takes much, much longer for people to understand. They do once they start to come to the monastery, and they do sense the goodness of it. So it's very slow work establishing a monastery abroad. And it's not about the buildings. I mean, that's a big part of it, but it is about creating a cultural understanding in a place that doesn't have it. And so that's what we're involved in. And I've been doing that for a few years, different places. But anyway, your faith and your generosity and your support, I come back here and I plug into that. That's really helpful. I mean, it's so, so helpful and so inspiring. And then same in Singapore. You're from Singapore, is that right? Yeah, from Singapore and Malaysia and so on.